Well, welcome back to Life Signatures Radio. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is a daily show, a daily podcast on the subjects of purpose, productivity, and resilience. And the nature of this podcast is in such a way that I organize my content in terms of series. Every single time I'm discussing a particular theme or a particular topic in a series. And every month I also have conversations with people, and those conversations with people come every Wednesday, and they're also thematic. For example, in the month of June, we talked about health and wellness. In the month of July, we're talking to writers and publishers. In the month of August, gonna be something else, and so on. That's the nature of this episode. So I want you to stay tuned to today's series. In fact, we are 3 episodes in, and we are talking about the 5 types of people that we need if we want to grow and if we want to succeed. Let us build that information today. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Life Signatures episodes are brought to you by africanbooks.com, which is an online ebook platform that seeks to broadcast the African Christian voice to the world. As such, they have become a hub for African content, connecting African writers and publishers with a global reading audience. Publishing your books on their site is free and easy, with authors having full control over their content and the price they choose to sell at it. I was personally blown away by the concept that africanbooks.com is coming up with. Things like no content from their site or their app is going to be run on laptops so that people can easily copy. In other words, your content as a writer is restricted from digital multiplication or digital copying. So you remain intact with your information. And the other concept that I got so blown away with was the fact that in some time to come, in due course, africanbooks.com will be starting to announce African Writer of the Year. In other words, there will be competitions in all African countries to figure out who is the best published author. And I also fell in love with the fact that countries can actually compete against each other. We can have African authors going at it after each other, and your book as an author will be reviewed and have some stars and recommended upon that particular platform. The thing is that it's an answer to Amazon.com. You know, with Amazon, what happens? You've got to have an account in the Americas or whatever, or in Europe before you can get paid as an author. But here, the local currency is in play and the local means of getting paid are in play. So to get started, go to africanbooks.com as an author or as a publisher, and even as a reader if you wanted to read your African favorite authors. Enjoy. You need certain kinds of people that you can be able to cross-pollinate with, and it's a two-way traffic. Let me say this, because some people normally go into these so-called networking meetings And they go there specifically with the idea of what can I get out of this networking meeting. It's supposed to be two-way. I've come to realize that the quality of my connections is two-way. If I give more, I receive more. In other words, if I'm just there waiting to be helped, all along I'm just the one helping, I'm not sending out their vibes into the universe and into the world that I have content, I have value that someone else is able to latch on to. If I am just sending the signal that I need help, nobody's going to connect with me. In fact, people start avoiding you because the only thing that they look at is you're going to drain them. Cross-pollination is two-way. Even naturally, when a bee comes to cross-pollinate a flower and so on, it's a two-way process. The flower needs the bee needs the flower. It's the same thing with humanity. The problem with humanity is that we are taking advantage of one another, thinking that it's a one-way traffic. What am I going to get out of that relationship? And so we become parasites. Parasitic relationships are not going to work. If you approach your life from the angle of what am I going to get from this relationship? What am I going to get? Transactional. People are so transactional in life. There's a guy who is writing a book for African startups, and he's saying that we need to look at the startup world past a transaction. There needs to be a metric that measures how much can I gain from this one customer? What is the lifetime value of this one customer? Not just one transaction. And if you're going to have a lifetime value from that customer, then what are you going to offer in exchange? What value are you going to build? What systems are you going to put into place to get a repeatable business with a particular customer? Business is a social trade. In other words, it's not just about one transaction, it's a relationship. The more we have relationships with one another, the more we are advancing. Actually, the most lucrative organizations on the face of the earth today, they are those ones who are leveraging communication, facilitating communication, either directly or indirectly, either communication or connection between human beings. Humans were created to connect. Humans were created to have relationships. They were created to socialize. We are social animals, social beings. We cannot thrive without connections. We cannot thrive without being connected to another human being, directly or indirectly. We cannot. And I know the advancements that we've made in this life are in such a way that we are trying to run away from that. Therefore, we've created a situation where I can go into my house, I can close the doors, I can order pizza every single morning without moving out of my house. I can order it and it can be able to come. And I can pay it, I don't even need to go to the bank. I can pay it through my phone, and I can do all those things through cyberspace. Even though we have made it impersonal, we will never get rid of connections and communications. They are always going to be integral, needed. They're going to be part and parcel of our pursuits and of our growth and of our success in life. That being said, I need us to look at the types of people that we will need to have in our lives intentionally. Who are these guys? Who is this guy? Who is this type? What type of person do I need to have? What types of people do I need to have in my life in order to succeed and in order to grow? But then the caveat is this. What am I offering in return? What value do I have? Inherently, the bee is called to the flower by the brightness of the flower, because the flower is offering what? It's offering nectar. And the bee comes there, and therefore it carries the seeds of the flower, and there the flower is dependent on the bee for its very existence. That's a symbiotic relationship. The same thing with us. If we position ourselves to the degree that there is something I can be able to give this world, that's why how we do relationships. We don't do relationships from there's something I can be able to get. Yes, you are supposed to get some things because, like I said yesterday, I'm not a plumber. I need a plumber. I'm not an electrician. I need an electrician. I'm not a water guy. I'm not a technical computer guru. I need those guys in my life. But what am I offering in return? That's the core, that's the nucleus, that's where we begin our relationships with what can we be able to offer. So that being said, did you notice for example, that a great percentage of your preferences, I'm talking your preferences, a great percentage of your preferences are based on what you have observed from other people. Let me tell you something about me. One of the things that I do have, and I believe I was born with, is a talent to work with words, a gift of words. I can sit down and I can imagine things, I can theorize and I can write. But my first job was as an IT consultant, where I was teaching people how to double click with the mouse, Windows 95, Windows 98, and so on. There came a colleague of mine, a new tutor came in, and this guy will literally fly a sentence on the keyboard, a thought on the keyboard. He was a touch typist. I was literally blown away. Now, before I met this guy, I didn't know what touch. Okay, maybe I might have known what touch typing is, and I might have been biased towards secretaries and thought that that's just for secretaries. But I saw it's my guy, it's my friend. He knows how to touch type. And there was a typing instructor at the place of work. You know what I did? My friend, I went in there and I started learning how to touch type. That became my preference to such an extent that today I am championing touch typing. The people that I meet and my family and so on, they are learning touch typing. Why? Because of this connection. My preference in typing is not spearing the keyboard like an African warrior in the past. No, it is flying thoughts on the keyboard. But that did not come by itself. It came through a connection. Did you know that a great percentage of your preferences are based on what you've observed from other people? Did you know that? Maybe your parent, maybe your friends, maybe your colleagues, or people that matter to you, or maybe something on the TV. That is what is called influence. We are influenced daily by people, negatively or positively. That's why we need people in our lives. Did you know that the values and the belief systems? Yesterday I told you about a man called Donald Matheny, my pastor, Pastor Donald Matheny, popularly known as Pastor Don. This man had values about integrity, values about manhood, values about dressing up, values about keeping, values about passion and humanity. And I picked those values and those belief systems from him. I hold those things so dear. I wasn't born with them. Before I met Donald Matheny, probably those things were simmering in the surface. Donald Matheny, when I went to church every single April in 1998, for some reason he was preaching about vision. He was screaming on the microphone, "What's your vision? What's your personal vision? Why are you here on the face of the earth?" And guess what? It's 2022. I am already creating concepts and books and online courses, and I'm teaching people about vision and purpose. Where did that come from? It came from that cross-pollination with Pastor Don Matheny. Did you know that the values and belief systems that you hold dear have been passed on to you by someone else, either passively or actively? That is still influence with people. And did you know that the breakthroughs you have experienced, I've told you this, and I've even gone ahead and I've tried all these years to try and build a social network around it, and I'm actually doing it. All the breakthroughs, most of the breakthroughs you've gone through, you've experienced in your life, have been a chain of reactions, of connections, directly or indirectly. That's how critical people are. Talk about influence, talk about values, talk about breakthroughs, talk about your preferences. Those are critical things of your life. They shape who you really are. So don't sleepwalk on your relationships. Don't do relationships as if it doesn't matter. That is why it's very important for us to be intentional about what kind of people we allow to be in our lives, or for us to be in their lives. And as a young man, I used to have a mentor, by the way, who challenged me to the core. I will walk into every Saturday I will walk into his living room in the evening, and the man would challenge me. He would ask me questions like, "Now, Lawrence, why shouldn't you own an airline?" Actually, airline, by the way, not aeroplane. Why shouldn't you own an airline? I mean, what's so special about you that you cannot own an airline? And at that moment, the biggest desire of my heart, guess what it was? A desktop computer with that big bat at the back. That was my biggest desire. But this man was challenging me and cross-pollinating me, and I made sure that I was in his presence. Those days, my biggest desire was to own a desktop computer, and people with laptops, those days were seen as they were just high up there. But I digress. Today, there are 3 laptops in my house. Oh Lord, have mercy on us. Anyway, needless to say, when you dream, or when your dream is to own a laptop and you have been challenged to own an airline, let alone an aeroplane, it messes up your thinking. It messes up your vision. It messes up how you appear in this life because of that connection. It creates a thinking big kind of a bug inside of you. And that's exactly what I got. So we are going to start looking at these people, these types of people tomorrow in the episodes. And I'm so glad that you've tuned in and you've listened up to this far. I encourage you to sign up. To subscribe to this channel and to share this information with as many people as possible. And thank you for sharing, because I have seen the statistics have really shot up. I'm really amazed at what's going on. This tells me that this light, this information is making an impact out there. So don't hold it. Connect with people. Share it around. You don't know who is going to bless. You don't know whose life is going to save. You don't know whose eyes are going to be open. You don't know whose spirit is going to be touched. You don't know who is going to be cross-pollinated. Share it around with the people that you care about. Tomorrow we'll look deeper into this. I wish you all the best. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.